Hello, everyone. Gibson Shamar here from Hikati Media. On behalf of our illustrious team, I welcome you to what we have called the Reacher Season 2 talk. But you already knew what it was. The intro told you before I started speaking. This goes the way all of our talks go. We will talk about the characters first, then the show itself. So let's get to it. First up, we have the main character whose name is in the title, Jack Reacher. He's a former military police major who now just lives his life going from town to town, and, well, that's it. He's a nameless drifter. He's not on a quest to find anything or go anywhere. He's just like, I'm alive and I have the means, so let me just go wherever I can. It's a very interesting life. The thing is, wherever he goes, it seems there's always some sort of trouble, and he can't help himself but get involved. He's a hulking man, a giant of a man, who doesn't take orders from anyone and will make sure you know that. He plays by his own rules and has a strict code of honor. He is very trusting and very sure of himself, which has gotten himself into a lot of trouble and a lot of disagreements with his friends. He also has a keen eye for detail, always remembering even the most insignificant details. You can even notice by the way his name goes, Jack Reacher. It almost sounds like a creature. Very clever stuff. Then we've got Frances Neagley, who was the Master Sergeant of the 110th Regiment, which was under the command of Reacher. She has the same hair color as I do. She's probably the closest to Reacher out of all the others in the regiment, since she also teamed up with him in the first season, whereas the others only showed up in this season. She knows him very well, and even after they disbanded, she still refers to him as boss, always listening to what he has to say and always following his orders. It feels strange saying this, but that's not something that we see very often in movies and shows these days. But it still feels like it's something very common. Weird, huh? Anyway, she is very tomboyish. She hates wearing feminine clothes and is always ready for a fight. She can be very smug as well, and her sarcasm is so subtle that even the viewer could have a hard time picking up on it. But not me. No, sir. No, sirree. Next up, Carla Dixon, the forensic accountant of the 110th. She is a cool headed woman who can take care of herself but is not invincible or invulnerable. After the 110th, she became a PI and works cases that require a lot of undercover work. She was romantically interested in Reacher when they were working together, and the feeling was mutual. Unfortunately, they never got to do anything because, well, Reacher is a stickler for the rules, even if he does just play by his own rules. He couldn't get involved with a subordinate. It just wouldn't be right, you know? She still harbors feelings for him in this season, years after they were done working together, but still never lets it interfere with what they are doing. She is very mature about this. She is also instrumental in finding a lot of the contractual inaccuracies and loopholes which help the team solve the case. Next up, David O'Connell, the lawyer. Heck, I don't even know how he ended up being the lawyer. Doesn't really display that many skills in being a lawyer. When I first heard that he was one, I thought it was just some sort of trick because he learned a thing or two about law or was maybe a law school dropout like me, but nope, he was a lawyer. He wasn't afraid of getting his hands dirty, though, and always carried with him a blade and knuckle busters, otherwise known as brass knuckles. I actually like his style. He's the witty banter guy in the group, and at first was shown to have a kind of rivalry with Reacher. Not the physical kind, but the type where we could see that they disagreed on how to handle situations, but O'Connell still always did as he was told. Due to their interactions like that, I always thought that O'Connell would be revealed as a double agent, working for the bad guys, but nope. Through flashbacks, it's revealed that he was the kind of guy who would get lucky with loads of females, and nobody, not even he, thought that he would end up settling down. Well, as irony would have it, he is actually the only one in the group to have actually settled down with a family and a house and everything. It's funny that the most unlikely guy to settle down in the group is often the first one to settle down. Then we've got a central figure in the story of the season, Tony Swan. He was in the 110th. After they disbanded, he got a new job at New Age, some sort of defense contractor, and worked his way up until he became the assistant director there. He's a really competent guy. Working under Reacher, you ought to be. He only picks the best of the best. Through flashbacks, we see that he had a lot of questionable moments, and most of the evidence pointed to him being the one behind everything that was going on. Reacher was the only one who believed in his innocence until the end. The others started having doubts and had pretty much given up on him, but Reacher stayed firm on his position. To him, there was no way Swan was the bad guy. Swan's incidents in the flashbacks were proven to just be weird coincidences when it was revealed that he wasn't the bad guy after all. We, the audience, and the surviving team members owe Swan and Reacher an apology for suspecting Swan. He died before the season started. A.M. This guy is an interesting fellow. He travels around being mysterious and devious. He loves comics and interacts with children everywhere he goes, talking about why he loves comics. He also kills people in a lot of his scenes. He kills innocent people. He is merely a salesman, as he describes himself. He doesn't like the idea of firing weapons, but only to deliver them or to give them to people who are willing to pay for it. He was working with the main bad guy of the show, Shane Langston. Speaking of Shane Langston, he's played by Robert Patrick, who we all know to be the T-1000 from Terminator 2: Judgment Day. Yeah, after seeing him in The Marine as the bad guy, Peacemaker as the bad guy, and now in this show, it's safe to say that he's a typecast actor now. Or he probably just likes playing bad guys. I don't know. I do know that even up to now, they still bring up his role in Terminator 2. There was the scene where he was tracking Reacher and Neagley, and they used Sarah Connor as a cover name for the person who rented the room.
Manager talk?
Nah, I paid off the concierge. EID Neely is checking in under the name Sarah Connor and paying for an adjoining room using the name Starlin Castro. Must be for the Hulk.
Starlin Castro played for the Yankees 6 or 7 years ago.
And who's Sarah Connor?
I don't give a shit.
Seriously, guys? Okay then. Well, he's a dirty detective who was hired as head of security at New Age and wanted to sell the weapons that they were developing. And when Swan found out, he had him killed. He's a cruel, sadistic, methodical, conniving, scheming, corrupt, and dirty man without any hint of upholding principles of integrity. Unfortunately, he's old, so he doesn't get to do much combat. He's still good at shooting people, though. We've got Calvin Franz. His death is what kicks off the series, or the season of the series. He was the innocent guy in the 110th. He loved playing the guitar and was the only one who was always like, let's make good memories. Yeah, he was that guy in the group. Every group of friends needs a guy like that. He was a cool dude and was looking into the case of the weapons being sold, or that were about to be sold. He is remembered very fondly by his friends. Lastly, we've got Guy Russo, homicide detective. He has the stereotypical Brooklyn accent and poses as a tough guy. He probably is one too, but as far as first impressions go, not so much. He may have a tough exterior, but he's a softie. He is very sensitive and caring, especially to children when they lose people that they are close to. It reminds him of his childhood when he lost his father. It turned out that his father died due to rejecting bribes, and that's the example Guy wants to live up to. Not the dying part, but the refusal to compromise and accept bribes. That causes a lot of heat between him and Reacher, because every time they bring up corruption, one accuses the other of being dirty, and Guy takes that kind of accusation very personally. He lives alone and has a modest lifestyle. Well, we've gotten past the characters and now it's on to the show itself. The show is enjoyable. I like how it's a serious show but doesn't play out like it considers itself superior to other simpler shows. It has a simple enough premise, one that's been done numerous times before in movies and stuff. A member of an old team of experts is found dead, so the surviving members get together and have to find out what led to their friend's death. I like that about the show. It's simple, but still very interesting, and you get really invested in the story. The performances are really good. This is a real testament to Amazon Prime, actually. I don't see that many shows from that streamer. In fact, I think the only other Amazon Prime show I watch is Invincible. Both are very good shows. A lot of love is put into the production of this show. I believe the writer of the books that the show is based on is involved in the production of this. I haven't read any of the books and I don't know much about the books. The only thing I know is that Alan Richardson perfectly embodies what the book describes Reacher as. Or at least he does it better than Tom Cruise did. No offense to Tom Cruise, I enjoyed the movies, but the series is much better. This show is nicely paced and the 8 episodes don't feel like they're too long or that they're too short. I still do wish that the seasons went on for a little longer, but hey, if it's as good as it is, just like this, I can't complain. Plus, that's probably where the books end. Speaking of the books, I was disappointed to find out that there are more than 20 of them. Not because of anything weird, but because that means that the show will never be able to adapt them all. Alan Richardson ages in real time, whereas Jack probably doesn't do this into his old age. Maybe he does, but I doubt it. Being a nomad is cool and all, but some of the stunts you get yourself into will get you put in a wheelchair eventually, Mr. Reacher. Plus, Alan Richardson is probably going to want to move on to other roles. He is very well used in the show, unlike in others that I have seen him in, like Titans, where he plays Hawk, or in Smallville, where he plays Aquaman for like 3 episodes. Dude, have you seen this guy? How can you only have him for 3 episodes in a 10 season show? From all of this, I know this guy is a comic book fan. He's also displayed interest in playing DCU's Batman. Unlike my failed campaign to bring Patrick Schwarzenegger in as Hal Jordan, we could still make Battleland a thing. The banter between the characters is nice. You really get the feel of camaraderie and everyone slips perfectly into their roles. My favorite character was O'Donnell, who again I thought was going to be revealed as a double agent. I like his style and the way he knows how to handle himself even in tough situations. Because he's not above fighting dirty. The knife, the brass knuckles. This guy knows what the real world is like and takes it for what it is. That's good. I like that. I also like how the action hero goes from town to town and does the fun things with the females that he meets. And the females aren't helpless but partake in the action, so that we avoid the Bond girl complaints, even though they actually are deep characters who contribute greatly to the plot, unlike what most loud people on the internet would have you believe. In this show, it's much more in your face than in James Bond, and that's a good thing. Yippee! I think the bad guys are what lack in Reacher. In both season 1 and 2, we never see anyone who can physically match Reacher in a fight. It's always someone who fights smart or doesn't fight at all, but uses guns. I was kind of hoping Langston would be a very intense fighter, but he was just some guy. Oh well, maybe the next season we'll have a fighter who is up to standard for a guy like Reacher. The plot was a simple one, but the way they get to the conclusions is what interests me the most. I'm guessing you couldn't make it too complex, could you, Mr. Lee Child? You had to keep it simple enough, but entertaining. I know you. That was all part of the grand design. Seriously, I think that that's the way to go with stories sometimes. You don't need to overcomplicate things or add in hundreds of layers. Sometimes the bad guy is just a bad guy who wants to sell weapons to terrorists. Simplicity equals quality sometimes. Even unintentional quality. I need to add this to the stories I write. Oh yes, in case you didn't know, I write stories too. Unfortunately, I don't publish them because people in my country don't read superhero novels, and only a few, probably less than 1,000, read comics. I can't even draw comics anyway, so yeah, I use my ability to write superhero stories to come up with those how I would have done it videos that I've been neglecting for a while now. Well, I gotta get back to those. Yep, 2025 is gonna be different. we're gonna have a whole lot more different kinds of media. Yeah, I think that was a good way of sneaking in a little advert and some commercials for the coming year, huh? Simple. I'm picking up on the show's tendencies. It's like poetry. It rhymes. While the show impressed me, I must say that Reacher's whole tough guy thing and the whole I play by my rules and my rules only thing is getting overplayed. I get it, you're larger than everyone around you, but sometimes you gotta ease up and just follow instructions, you know? Plus, what is it about his brother's death? We need to look more into that. He was accused of killing his brother but was acquitted. There's probably more to that story that hopefully gets uncovered as the show goes on. We at least know why he was discharged. We learned that he was discharged in season 1, now we know why. There's also the most touching moment, which was when Guy Russo died. That moment had my throat feeling funny. I really found it sad when he died. The moment he stopped the car to fight the bad guys who were hunting the little girl, I knew. I hoped he'd make it, but I knew that he wouldn't. Rest in peace, Russo. You deserve it. Anyway, that was it for the Reacher Talk. Thanks for watching our video. Please check out our Facebook, our Instagram, and the rest of our channel for more exciting content. We have so much that we're losing track of it right now. Okay then, bye and happy festivities. Have a good day.